Excited about what happened this weekend. Just want to reiterate how proud we are of the team, the resilience these guys continue to show in the circumstances that we have right now as a team with the amount of injuries and players that are out for the year. For these guys to prepare and perform the way they are, the players deserve all the praise and all the credit, as well as the staff with all the work and extra time we've put into, figure out ways to win games with the hand we've been dealt. And I think just speaks to Aggie pride and, the belief these guys have in each other, and, to beat a nationally ranked team at home and keep putting ourselves in a position to hopefully keep playing late in the year. Again, just tremendous, and I couldn't be more proud of the team right now. We have a lot of things we can still get better at, which is great. And the bye week's coming at a great time for us to, take a deep breath here, do some self-scouting, look at the areas we want to improve before we get to the final 5 games. And we've talked about before how important it is to perform well out of the bye week. And, in my 2 seasons here, we've done really well out of the bye week in those 3 opportunities, and we want to continue that with our next game, which is going to be against a tremendous opponent and a coach that I really respect a lot. So we got a lot of work ahead of us. Probably the first difference is, the last bye week we heavily practiced on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we gave them Thursday, Friday, Saturday off so they could go home, and then we practiced on Sunday. This time around, we're going to have a real light practice on Tuesday, heavier practices Wednesday, Thursday, give them Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and then we'll get back into our Monday routine. Guys won't be going home, obviously, because we got class and everything. So, but what we're trying to do is give them extra days after the last game. So, played on Saturday, let's give them Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to get their bodies back, work them hard Wednesday, Thursday, and then give them Friday, Saturday, Sunday, really Monday again to get healthy and get their body back. So we'll still have installation for our next opponent this week. Game plan will be in as if we're playing them this Saturday to hopefully give us, 2 full weeks of prep. Well, I would say if you're a football player, nobody's completely healthy at this point in the season. So even guys that aren't on the injury report, there's plenty of things that they need some time just to heal up. So you think about guys that have played a lot of snaps and a lot of reps, and so the important thing is, can we spend the time to get their body back? But when we decide to work, we want to make sure we're getting good work in this week to take advantage of the extra days of preparation. So good balance of, again, they should have really, you're talking about, Sunday, today, Tuesday mostly, that's 3 days. And then you got another Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So they're really going to have 6 to 7 days of very light work. And that should get their bodies back. And then, the extra 2 days of heavy work. That extra 2 days should help us be more prepared to play well. Well, I think, obviously I'm proud whenever our players get recognized. It's great for them, and it's great for our program that UC Davis is out there. And we have great players, and I love when any of them get recognized. Specifically, though, the quarterback play, I think most people are going to look at stats, and that's what's going to get players recognized and get them awards. And he obviously has had great stats the last few weeks, but that does not mean that he doesn't have a lot of things to get better at in regards to playing the position at the level that we expect the quarterbacks to play here at Davis. And he knows that, and so still going to coach him hard and improve on, the decision-making, his ability to see things at the line of scrimmage, his ability to handle protections, get us out of bad plays, get us into better plays, taking care of the football. These are all things that we train our quarterbacks, I think, as well as anybody in the country at, and we're going to keep pushing them to improve in those areas. If you play quarterback the right way in this offense, you'll end up probably having the statistics that would warrant those type of postseason recognition. But I would hope that him and the rest of our players, the stat they would mostly be focused on is wins, because if you accumulate enough wins, then everybody's going to eat off those wins. The teams that have the most wins in the conference get the most players in all conference, right? that's a rule in the conference. The teams that win the most games, they're going to have the most players recognized as All-Americans and awards and those kind of things. So I'm really proud of Caden. I think the last month he's taken some huge strides. He's not doing anything that we didn't expect him to do. And like I've been saying all year, I think his best football is still ahead of him, and not only this season, but I just think about how much more growth he has in the next couple of years and what he'll look like in regards to his efficiency. I think really speaks to how good he can be. But I think he deserves all the recognition he gets, just like any of our guys, because we got great players. I think the offenses have changed from those years, right? I think I don't have a huge history lesson here, but Jim Soker had his style of offense that he took from his years of spending time with the Cowboys with Tom Landry, and then his relationship with Bill Walsh at the Niners, and so he was pretty cutting edge back in the 70s and 80s in regards to what we were doing offensively. A lot of colleges weren't doing, but more specifically how he trained the quarterback, right? And then as Bob got more involved in the offense, especially when he started taking over when Coach Foster became the head coach, Bob started moving to a single back offense that he took really from Weber State and guys like Dennis Erickson. And so the offense changed, but what didn't change was how the quarterback was taught, right? And then even to me taking over as offensive coordinator, play caller in 2009, we might be running different styles of offense, but how I'm training the quarterback is still the same. And so the one constant has been, Jim Soker's foundation for how we teach the quarterbacks, what we demand out of them, what we look for in regards to how we recruit them. That's the starting point back in 1969, 1970 with Bob Biggs as the first quarterback. And then, Bob took that teaching and, in my opinion, took another step in becoming one of the best quarterback coaches, I think, in college football history. And then, he taught a lot of us, the guys that worked for him, how to train the quarterbacks. And so as the offenses have changed and maybe the schemes have looked a little different, how we train the quarterback was, started in 1970, and it's been the same way we train the quarterback 55 years later. Yeah, well, we talked about that after the game a little bit in the sense of what we're trying to do for some of these guys is get a medical red shirt. Right now the problem is that the NCAA, they don't count the Mercer game in regards to statistics, but they're telling us that they count it in regards to a game being played. So you have to play 4 games or less, and if they count the Mercer game, then it counts as 5 games. So we're working really hard with the NCAA and with our compliance to hopefully appeal that with Mercer as well, because they have players in the same scenario that, in my opinion, if the game doesn't count, then it shouldn't count, and those guys should be able to get their year back. Yeah, I wish they all went that way, but I think, you work really hard as an offensive staff. We talk a lot about, we ran 61 plays, I think, and I don't know offhand, but I bet of the 61 plays, 20 of them went perfectly. Like, we got the exact look we wanted, and players executed perfectly, beautiful result. Then you're going to have another 20 plays where, it's a toss-up. They did some good stuff and we did some good stuff, and who wins those plays? And they're going to have probably 20 plays where they got the upper hand in regards to the call they've made. And, so I always think about good offense should be when you get the look you want, you need to create an explosive play. When you get, an even play, you want to try to win half of those plays, right? And then if you get a situation where it's not a great look, that's where you hope you've trained the quarterback to get you out of that, or that, that play doesn't become a negative play. And so, one example we were talking about with the team today is we had a explosive pass to Sam to start a drive early in the game, and then we went right into a tempo play. We were taking a shot, and, Caden wanted to throw the ball deep, and they made a great call defensively to take away the deep thirds. And instead of forcing it, he checked it down to Carter, and we got a gain of 2. And that's one of those plays where, they had a better call than we did. Yeah. And it didn't turn into a negative. It just, turned into an okay play for us. And when I think of offensive football, I think about those situations. When we get the great look like Fisher's run, we need to execute and be explosive. And when we get a bad look like that play, hopefully we can get a gain of 2 and move on to the next play. I think parity's hit college football because the NIL's created a situation where you got super teams and then you got everybody else kind of, drowning and trying to survive. And so there's 20 to 25 teams that are sailing across the college football ocean in a yacht, and then you got another 200 teams that are trying to hold on to a life raft, while the waves are crashing down on us. So I think every team is just trying to survive in this landscape, unless you get a situation like those 25, 30 teams that are in the yacht. So either try to get in the yacht or, try to get more air into that life raft so you can hang in there a little longer. Yeah, I think, I wish I had the money to give the guys, right? I'm not against NIL. I'm actually 100% for it, and I do think that the revenue should be given to all athletes, right? But we're not in a situation where we have that type of revenue, and that's why I work so hard when I can get in front of a microphone or a camera to say, we need help. We need to fundraise and raise money, and we need people to come to the games. And where does that money go? It goes towards feeding players. It goes towards paying for their rent. It goes towards giving guys like Rex Connors or Lan Larison some extra money, since they are getting offered astronomical amounts of money. But I don't knock guys that don't want to come here because they're getting offered money from other places, just like I don't knock our players that choose to leave if they're getting paid from other teams. What we try to provide is a great environment that guys want to be a part of, and we try to hang our hat on the fact that we develop players better than I think most teams in the country at all levels, that we spend our time on development. We got a great strength coach, I think the best in the country. And so we're going to spend our time on developing the players, teaching them how to win football games, teaching them how to be better football players, prepare them for the NFL, and then also get them a world-class education. And we hope that some guys will see the value in that, and maybe the $100,000 they might get going somewhere else, that money goes away pretty quick, and you get a degree from a place like this, and you learn the life skills that you get taught at a place like this. Maybe you sacrifice the $100,000 for 1 year to make millions for the next 20 years, and those are some of the conversations we try to have with those guys. Not shocking that 2 guys from the Ivy Leagues can see the big picture and understand that, the 40-year decision is probably better than the 1-year decision. And in every family situation is different. Some kids, that money goes a long way. That $100,000 could really help them, and I totally understand that. But guys like Jacob and Darrell, I think they see the bigger picture, and they want to be a part of a good environment that can help them grow. And so we were very fortunate, and Jerry Brady's a world-class recruiter, and I think both of those things showed up there. Yeah, I mean, our best recruiters are our players, because they can express the experience that they're going through. This is why I love it at Davis. This is how I get treated by the staff, and so they're our best recruiters, and the other best recruiters we have is our alumni, in the sense that they can tell a story that a lot of places can't tell. I mean, Chris Spraker just got inducted into the Hall of Fame on Friday night. He's one of the greatest players to ever play here. Graduated with a degree, broke the all-time leading tacklers list, won a bunch of football games, but he had a degree in computer engineering, and then got his master's at Columbia, and now is on the East Coast working in finance and is doing very well financially. So he got to play college football, have a great career, gets to go in the Hall of Fame, and is a very successful person away from football. And so those guys are the best salesmen we can have in regards to recruiting. You can be Lan Larison, who was here the other night, and play football here and get a degree and be on the New England Patriots, or Keelan Doss, or Dan Whalen, or any of these guys, Jake Mayer playing in Canada. I mean, you can be these guys, still play football for a long time and get paid, but at some point you're going to take the pads off, and what's that going to look like? Well, a place like this can set you up for the rest of your life. So I think really families that look at this the right way and they think about it from a holistic landscape can see the big picture. And I think if you're not getting recruited by one of those 30 teams in the yacht, I think in regards to the teams on the life rafts, I think ours is in pretty good shape, and that's where I'd want my kid to go. Yeah, Lan obviously stands out. There was a number of guys that showed up that I played with. One of my best friends, Chris Carter, who played linebacker here, with my roommate. It was great to see him. Brandon Quinn, who's a former safety that played when I was here. You know, seeing him, Nate Ramazani, Billy Zier, Bob Krieger, who gave us the money for the Krieger Terrace. He came and ate dinner with our team on Friday night, and then did Friday night fights with his wife and his daughter, and was around the team. Really thankful for him and what he's done for the program. Having Nathaniel Hackett on campus is a big deal. He's a mentor of mine and means a lot to a lot of people, and the Hackett family means a lot to Davis. So having him on campus and having him at the game was really cool. He came to our walkthrough Saturday morning in front of Jim Soker's statue, and so all those things mean a lot to me, and that's why I love Davis. I want to try to bridge that gap between the Soker years and the Foster years and the Biggs years and the Hawkins years, and get all those groups together. They all have a lot in common. It's a powerful place. If we can put it in the right direction, that life raft can start to turn into a boat and turn into a ship, and maybe we can start to really compete at a high level. And so the more support we get from them, the better chance we have. No, that's what's one of our bigger recruiting aspects, in my opinion, is Kevin Blue, who was our former AD, and someone that I really respect, and did a fantastic job with Coach Hawkins here with the football program, but with all of our athletics. When I got back here in 2017 and Kevin was here, he met with the athletic department and basically said, I want to be number one in the world at something. And, we know we're not going to be number one in the world at facilities because we're not going to have a waterfall or a movie theater like Oregon or something, right? And I know we're not going to be number one in NIL, and, even though we have a great stadium, we're not going to have 100,000 people here. What are we going to be number one in the world at? And so he started the EVO program, and the EVO program was to try to be number one at getting our players launched into their career path. And Mike Lorenzen was someone that was in charge of that, and it's been world-renowned and been something that's been impressive for our athletic department since really 2017. Is we don't just get guys degrees, we get our male and female athletes jobs. And so, about halfway through their time here, we figure out what they want to do, start setting them up with internships, developing relationships with our alumni, and hopefully by the time they graduate, they already have a job in place. And so, with all the companies in the Bay Area and the different connections we have, we have become one of the top schools in the world at placing our student athletes into getting a job. And again, that's 99% of us are not going to play pro football, even as good as some of us are. So, we got to make sure we set those guys up for the rest of their life, and I think we do that better than anybody. Yeah, our focus was definitely on him. I think he's one of, if not the best quarterback in the conference, and we needed to get pressure on him early and often. We kind of made a goal that we wanted to make sure we hit him 10 times in the game. Something that Dirk Cutter taught me was if the quarterback gets hit 10 times, tends to change his effectiveness. So we always tally our own quarterback, how many times he's been hit in a game. But we wanted to get after the quarterback, get pressure on him. I think we ended up getting to him 16 times in the game, sacked him 6 times. And, Coach Coombs obviously does a tremendous job that I've talked about at length before. But what the defensive staff is doing right now without the players that they're missing is pretty remarkable. And it speaks to the players and their commitment to it, but it speaks to the staff and their creative ability to find ways to get off the field. But the pass rush, Jerry Brady told me a stat the other day. He's been here 9 years. Coach Coombs has been here 6 years. And in Coach Coombs' 6 years, we judge explosive plays defensively by tackles for loss, sacks, batted balls, turnovers. And 25% of our plays defensively, we considered an explosive play defensively. That was the highest rating in all of Coach Coombs' 6 years. And the 6 sacks that we got is the most sacks that Coach Brady's been a part of in his 9 years. So and we already have the same amount of sacks this year, 7 games in, that we had last year, 14 games in. Right? So only half the amount of time we got the same amount of sacks. So the way they've improved the pass rush, obviously the players have a lot to do with that. But that was a big emphasis in the offseason, and was, in my opinion, the reason we won the game was our D-line's ability to get after the quarterback. So I think that's something we obviously need to try to continue to do defensively. Right now our biggest issue is just getting off the field, and so early in the game, they had a 10-play, 11-play, and 13-play drive all in the first quarter and a half. And that was because we just couldn't get off the field on third down. So that's been a real weakness of our defense. The first 7 games is just our third down inefficiency. And so if we can find ways to get off the field more often, those drives get a little shorter. The play count gets a little bit less. And I know that's an emphasis right now for us defensively, is just getting off the field. Yeah, I haven't even looked at it. I hope it's good weather. I know that that's a difficult place to travel to and a difficult place to play, but I would also say that anywhere in the Big Sky on the road is brutal. It's tough, and they're obviously playing at a really high level right now. And there's an argument that they could be 5-1, 6-0 at this point with some of the games they've even lost. So I'm not surprised. I think Ed Lamb is one of, if not the best coaches, definitely in our conference and probably in the country. A lot of respect for him. Not shocked. I was saying that last year, that you give Ed time, that program is going to be really, really difficult, just like he did with Southern Utah. And what they've been able to do already in just this year is a tribute to him and his staff and what they're doing and developing their team. And they're a very, very difficult outfit on defense. They play really sound. They don't miss tackles, force turnovers. Their offense is throwing the ball really well right now, scoring 49 points up in Idaho. So we got our hands full. I'm really thankful that we have 2 weeks to try to prepare for the trip and prepare for a really good team, because any win on the road in the conference is going to be very difficult.